Hey everyone, it's Erin with Hail Varsity. I'm joined by Greg, the recruiting extraordinaire, also of Hail Varsity, and we are back for another week of the recruiting question of the week. Although we have Greg, I would say while this is our one recruiting question video of the week, we take
Mhm.
recruiting questions all week long. Would you agree?
Yes, I would absolutely agree. And that's great. I love taking your questions all week long about recruiting.
We do appreciate it because part of that is just you leaving comments, questions, chiming in, whether it's here on YouTube or also on Twitter, Facebook, you
Mhm.
name it. So we do appreciate that. You can always leave comments and keep that conversation going. We'll have more on that later, but we will get to the question first. All right, Greg, this is a big one. Are you ready
Okay.
for it?
I hope so.
Okay. So the defensive line, it's been on everyone's mind. How can Nebraska improve it? And, until we get to the fall and know exactly what improvement looks like, they have added some key pieces, some much needed key pieces to the defensive line
Mhm.
in recent weeks. What is the next area that Nebraska needs to focus on? What is the next position where attention needs to be turned now?
It's interesting because, first of all, I think that defensive line might not be done. I think that it's important to keep that in mind, that Nebraska is still kind of searching for at least one more additional piece to help bolster, especially the interior of the defensive line. So, put that in the back of your mind too. But I think that now it gets a little interesting, right? Because offensive line has been one that I feel like a lot of people have talked about really through spring football, but there was always this kind of caveat and asterisk along with it, right? About, well, we don't know what that unit will look like because you're missing two projected starters in Teddy Prohaska and Turner Corcoran. You also have kind of a first-time offensive line coach in Donovan Raiola, and you don't know exactly what he's looking for in that mix as well. So there's just a lot of question marks with that group. That being said, I think if the right player came available, particularly at tackle, I think Nebraska would look to add someone. We just haven't, I just don't really think we've seen that right player necessarily come into the transfer portal. On the other side of the ball, we do have a confirmation that Kane Williams, the Alabama safety transfer, is going to be taking an official visit this coming weekend. And so Nebraska is looking to continue to boost its secondary, which is something that they were very aggressive in the offseason. I feel like we have kind of talked about that, but I don't know if we fully dove into just how aggressive Nebraska was in trying to turn over that secondary in the offseason. It seems like that's not over either.
It's really actually kind of interesting to see how the two different storylines between the offense and the defense are heading into this
Mm-hmm.
fall. It feels like for the offense, in many ways, it's almost like you need some of these rooms to clear out a little bit. There's a lot
Right.
of there's never too much depth. But we have had some concerns about the number of running backs, the number of wide receivers. What do those spaces look like? Whereas on the other side, like we're talking about with the defense, does feel like that's where Nebraska is putting a lot of its eggs when it comes to areas that need more bodies, need more depth, need improvement. And after a strong 2021 with Nebraska's defense, it definitely feels like Nebraska is trying to really bolster those rooms.
Yeah, which as you even say that, I'm just kind of thinking like, man, that's kind of wild on how we got here because in the offseason, so much of the talk was it started off about being concerned about the offense and the direction of that unit with so much overhaul, obviously with four new offensive coaches on the staff on that side of the football, kind of what they're doing with kind of Mary Mark Whipple scheme and Scott Frost scheme. Like there's just a lot happening on the offensive side of the ball, but that slowly shifted during spring ball, I think in a big way towards defense and the concerns there. But that makes sense too, given how much talent they lost from that unit that was pretty good in 2021.
Defense is definitely an area where I think there's definite concern. We've heard, specifically, like you said, the defensive line is likely not done. There's some areas that still need more. I think, with the departure of Casey Rogers, for instance, we're seeing some areas that still need depth, that still
Mhm.
need more. So, okay, we know that they want to bolster the secondary. We know there's still some room to improve that defensive line. Is there any reason to believe that some of those areas won't have anyone added before fall?
Yeah, I think that you could see no more additions. And part of that, well, it's twofold. One, you still have to get someone to say yes. Like you still have to actively recruit those guys in the portal. You don't just grab them and say, hey, come on our team. Two, Nebraska's attrition situation is still worth watching, right? And how many scholarships they actually have available to give to these portal players. Now, I would guess that they would not be bringing these guys in for official visits as they did not have the room. So I'm not as concerned about that, but I do still think that even though we're past that May 1 deadline for guys entering the transfer portal, you could still see some scholarships be freed up, one or two, based on guys being placed on medical scholarship as well. You could also see grad transfers, and graduation is coming up this weekend as well. So there are still a couple of paths there. But yes, you could end up not seeing anyone. I just wouldn't bet for that happening.
You know, you always have to ask both sides of both sides of the coin. You just never know. There's somebody out there who is wondering the exact same thing. So
Yeah.
I've got you if that's you. But it does kind of feel like as we're getting into camp season, there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on as Nebraska is trying to, like, you obviously are trying to recruit for that 2023 class, but still looking for that help, because as we know, and I had to clarify this with Greg too, because so many of these things, like the dates, just like kind of just like it's all jumbled in my mind. But May 1st was obviously the deadline for those who were looking to enter the transfer portal, that they would be able to play in 2022. But that was only for undergraduates. Those who are looking at pursuing a graduate, like they would be a graduate transfer. Nebraska is still looking for those. So like, as we're talking about all of that, and you might be thinking, if you're ever confused by any of that, like understand that there's a lot of like who can and cannot play right away, what that means. Long story short, you're never alone if you get kind of jumbled around on all of this. There are a lot of moving pieces to keep track of, where I can understand why Nebraska talks about needing a department that only focuses on the portal at this point, because there are so many moving pieces.
Yeah, there absolutely are. And this is why I never kind of get tired of having to re-explain these things, because there's just so much to keep track of. But it is also why Scott Frost frequently says that we can keep a scholarship or two in our back pockets, because you never know what's going to happen, because you really could get to August, have someone want to be a graduate transfer coming into the program, and then say, oh, well, we don't have a spot, right? And so you have to kind of always be flexible, which makes things even more difficult for coaching staffs around the country to kind of figure this out and put the puzzle pieces together, because there are just so many moving parts at this point.
It's you know what, Greg, it's job security at all times for you, because there's always something going on. So
That is true.
it's true. I do appreciate it, because this is something where I do think people are going to be like, what's next? And it feels like a lot of that focus is going to be on the defense. So it's an area to keep an eye on. Obviously, if you want to be up to date on everything as it happens, be sure to head to hailvarsity.com. Greg does a great job with the recruiting notebook Sunday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Central at hailvarsity.com. And on Monday specifically, which is why I said Monday, he does dive further into the topic that we discussed in this video. So you can head over there now. Be sure to subscribe. Also, be sure to subscribe to this channel, because you just don't want to miss out on anything. You will be smarter because of Greg. I know I always leave these videos a little more confident in what's happening in the recruiting world. So I appreciate it, Greg.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
If you have any additional questions, comments, anything else, feel free to leave them now in the comment section here. Or you can tweet at us at Greg Smith HV or at Hail Varsity. We will be back next week with another recruiting question of the week. So again, be sure to get those questions in. Greg, as always, thank you. We will talk to you next week.
Bye.